there's a nice way of diverting.
Let's turn the crowd upside down if I ever saw it. I don't think that big fella intends to sit down with that chair.
Oh my God! Jason Static now. Tight! 2! That was as close as it can get. And now, a power move by Jason Static.
And there we go. The end, ladies and gentlemen. The fat lady is sung. And there's several in the audience tonight.
The Howard Beach fans aren't so happy, but everyone else is. All those fans that Don Tony seem to have brought in are not very happy. But Jason Static it's ecstatic.
That fella in the corner doesn't look very much alive.
We have here a wounded Don Tony and Reefer.
I thought he was dead.
He doesn't know where he is.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Yeah, that was my first official concussion. Not proud of it, but he got me good. But yeah, that knocked me for a loop way back when. Jason Static looks so much like Brian Cage. It's amazing. He was kind of like if you took Brian Cage and crossed him with Chris Benoit, that's Jason Static over there. But yeah, I don't put my hand up. You know, if you're gonna do it, you know, you go all out or you don't do it at all. That's how I always thought about it. But yeah, that was not a fun night. Cope with it. Cope. That's not going to stick, guys. That is not going to stick. We'll talk about it. First off, Happy New Year to each and every one of you out there. I keep looking over here to make sure that we don't lose audio. I made a couple of adjustments last week, and so far, I think we're good. I think I finally figured out why the audio was cutting out periodically. And it's important for tomorrow night because tomorrow night, Raw debuts on Netflix. Everything changes going forward. It's huge. You know, when you hear Seth Rollins and Nick Khan and Triple H and others, you know, really make this sound 1,000 times bigger than Saudi Arabia, that's because it is. It really is. You know, we don't have time here to get into an entire discussion about it, but 5-10 years from now, I mean, I could probably bet 90% of you will be watching cable television shows through streaming media. That's the future. In the next year or two, you're going to hear major cable outlets closing down. Some networks that'll shock the shit out of you. And as we pointed out on some of the news updates, and some people thought I was kidding when I made the remark. You look at Access TV and you look at TNA that is on there because Anthem owns Access TV. Their average primetime viewership during a week, prime time, their average viewership is 25,000 viewers. What kind of advertising revenue do you think you possibly make off of something like that? Shit, there's podcasters in wrestling that get bigger audiences than that. You know about all the news outlets out there that are suffering because of what happened with Trump, obviously. But this is massive, guys. Everything changes with the WWE starting tomorrow. Monday nights for the foreseeable future are going to feel like premium live events. And, people still think I'm nuts when I say, don't be surprised if Netflix reveals 5-10 million people tune in on Monday night to watch Raw. Now, granted, we don't know how long someone is going to tune in to Monday Night Raw. Somebody from bullshit stand, it could tune in. What is this? Live? What is this? And then watch it, and turn it right off. Maybe watch it for 2-3 minutes. It's going to be interesting because here's something else. Some countries, this is something that I guarantee a lot of you haven't thought about. There are some countries out there that are very, very stringent and very strict as far as dress attire with women. Now, yes, live and in person, the WWE women have to wear full body outfits. But what happens to some of those countries where you have Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley dressed in their normal attire? And, if you look at their buttocks, sometimes it looks like they're squeezing 1 pound of bologna in a ½ pound bag, so it's going to be interesting to see how some countries handle, Netflix. Now, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal because Netflix has tons of movies, and I don't think any women in those movies are fully clothed from neck to toe. So, there's got to be some leeway there, but it's going to be interesting to see how it's handled. But you're going, and before we get into your questions, because that's what this show is about, it's about all of you. Out of everything that Kevin and I have talked about for the last 6 to 8 months about Netflix and WWE, this is the one thing that I think really puts in perspective how big this is. And I'm sorry for repeating this for anybody who tunes into all the shows, but this is something you got to really, really think about going forward with WWE. USA Network is about 70 million homes. About 70 million homes have the USA Network. The thing is, when you watch WWE Raw on the USA Network, you watch through Spectrum, Verizon Fios, YouTube TV, a service like that. So when you turn your TV on and you turn your cable box on or you turn your Roku on and you go to Spectrum, YouTube TV, Verizon Fios, what do you see on your screen? You see a TV guide. And there's hundreds and hundreds of channels. And sure, if you have favorites saved, your favorites will come up. But for the most part, they're pretty unbiased. You turn it on, they don't go out of their way to push WWE. Every single person that has Netflix, 300 million homes, 300 million homes have Netflix. They pay for it. This is not where, I have a cable TV subscription. I only watch sports and news. I don't watch wrestling. Yeah, it's on my network, but every single person that has Netflix pays for it. So every time they turn their Netflix on, whether they want to watch live football or whether they want to watch the Menendez brothers documentary or they want to watch a movie or they want to watch cartoons, right smack in their face You're going to be showered with advertisements for WWE Monday Night Raw and more. The archives, if you live outside the United States, you get Raw, you get SmackDown, you get NXT, premium live events in some areas. So understand you're going from a regular cable network to now Netflix, where they're going to push the shit out of you. And it's going to be tremendous. 5-10 million homes, maybe even more. It's do not be prepared. Nobody's talking about that aspect of it, but this is huge. It's really huge. And I saw somebody sent in a super chat early, and I saw about The Rock. And yeah, I definitely saw that earlier today. Who sent this in? Police Squad sent in this a few minutes ago. He says, DT, you nailed it. WWE and The Rock ruined the surprise and announced that he was appearing on Raw tomorrow night. People are saying he's going to just cut a promo. What do I think he will do? We've been saying for about a month that The Rock was going to be on. Meltzer said he's got other commitments he wasn't going to be on, and he was called out on it. Other websites, no, The Rock is not scheduled to be there. What the fuck are you talking about? This is the biggest moment in WWE history. It's bigger than Saudi Arabia. It's bigger than Nitro going off the air. It's bigger than WWE purchasing WCW. It's bigger than them going public. This is the biggest moment in WWE history. Now, will it live up to the hype? I think so, because they have a roster and they have a track record now for a year and a half, 2 years, that they've been putting out pretty damn good quality entertainment. Now, are they going to go attitude, as some people tried to tell you a year ago when Rock bloodied up Cody? Mama Rhodes. No, they're not going attitude. They're not going to forget their audience. A huge part of their audience are children and families. They're not going to put something out there where families now have to start thinking, should my kids be watching this? Will there be moments here and there that it will be a little bit looser? Sure. Are we going to hear Pat McAfee curse once in a while? Absolutely. Are we going to hear the fans chant, holy shit? Definitely. It's just like other shows. It's just like watching a movie. There's a lot of PG movies out there that you hear cursing. You know, it's the reason, and I've said this for years and years and years, and up to the last day that Raw was on the USA Network, I still could not understand why people that are somewhat intelligent could not understand it. Oh, how come they can't even allow fans to chant? Why do we have to censor the fans? It's not WWE censoring it. It's not the USA Network fucking up. It's not Fox censoring the crowd chants on SmackDown. It's the advertisers. The advertisers bought advertising where there are no cursing. That's why I've said for so long, watch Raw on the USA Network. Watch 15 minutes before Raw and listen to how many curses you hear on TV. And this is before Raw even starts at 8 o'clock at night. And you say to yourself, wait a minute, I don't understand something. How come they have a TV show where you hear schmuck, asshole, bullshit, asshole, bullshit, dick, asshole, bitch. And then 15 minutes later, you can't even hear a crowd chant, holy shit. It's the advertisers. Now, the advertisers on Netflix are going to be different. It's going to be different. And when you think of the advertisers, remember that even when you don't watch Raw live, I'm sure a lot of you subscribe to premium channels out there. And what happens? If you pay for ads, you'll be watching something, and then out of nowhere, ad pops up on the screen. Fuck, ad. Happens on YouTube, happens on Netflix. It happens on a lot of mediums out there. WWE, the same thing. So you will get ads when the live WWE event is over. But I will tell you, I stood up this morning until 3:30 just to put up the news update. And I wanted to wait until Wrestle Dynasty ended and put up the results. And if you haven't checked it out already, check out this Sunday morning's news update, because we got into not only the United States, but I explained every country out there how you will be able to watch WWE programming going forward. I'm talking about live Raws, SmackDowns, NXT, and premium live events. Archived stuff is a different ball game. What you will learn that people still don't know is that the WWE network is not dead. It's not dead. I know for some of our Hall of Fame podcasters out there, they have these nice little clickbaits the last couple of days. Rest in peace, WWE Network. What the fuck are you talking about? You don't live in Zimbabwe. You don't live in South Africa. You live in fucking Oklahoma. We haven't had the WWE Network for years. Rest in peace, WWE Network. Guess what? There are countries that are still getting the WWE Really? Yes. So, information that you can use. And last Monday, watch tomorrow night. I'm going to tell you, if you did not tune into last Monday's DTKC show, we summed up, and I'll get to Police Squad's question in a second. I'm going to take it off of this for a minute. We summed up the duration of Raw. Take note. You will not find one wrestling news site, one wrestling show out there that has said what Kevin and I have been saying. And I'm going to tell you now, because in 24 hours time, just about 24 hours time, you will see it for yourself. Going forward, even though people are telling you Raw is 2 hours, Raw is 3 hours, Raw will be treated more like a premium live event. Raw will be treated more like a WWE house show. Raw will be treated more like a sports game. When you go to a WWE house show, how long do they last? Well, sometimes they're 2.5 hours. Sometimes they're 3 hours. Sometimes it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. When you watch a premium live event, how long does it go? See, when you used to have in-demand, 3 hours or 2 hours was the cutoff. That's it. Diamond Dallas Page and Goldberg and WCW learned that lesson pretty quickly. Back then, you had a hard cutoff. Now, if you finished a few minutes early, you would see the in-demand logo and you'd hear music and all this stuff until you got to the 3 hour mark or the 2 hour mark, and then you could watch the replay. That's how Raw is going to be handled going forward. It's not going to be all over the place. It's not going to be 3 hours one week and 2 hours another week and 2 hours and 38 minutes another week. They'll be pretty consistent, but it is being handled like a sports event, like a premium live event, like a WWE house show. So the days of a hard 2 hours, no. That's why, if you notice, nobody's fucking talking about it anymore, because they don't have a goddamn clue. What happened to all their sources? Nobody got it. The only reason why Kevin and I got it is because we have a couple of friends that they're like, hey, this is what we were told. One actually was trying to figure out some travel itinerary for later on in the week because the person has to make an appearance somewhere else, and said, we were told it's not a hard 2, it's not a hard 3. It's going to be handled. They have a goal. They have a format. They're not going to let Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre, they have 16 minutes, and it's so fucking unbelievable that Triple H is like, you could go another 5. No. They have in their mind when this is going to go off the air, but it doesn't have to be exact. That's how it's going to be. So going forward, that's how you watch Monday Night Raw, which obviously fucks me up. It fucks up all of my friendly podcasters out there that usually stream right after Raw goes off the air, because you really don't know exactly what time you're going to start. You're going to start at 10 o'clock. You're going to start at 10:30. You're going to start at 11 o'clock. You don't know. Treat it like a premium live event. Treat it like a pay-per-view. And that's how it's going to be going forward. In a couple of weeks, we'll see a pattern. We'll say, oh, it's usually around 2 hours, 15 minutes. I'm just using an example. Then you'll have a better scope of how long it's going to go. Yes, you're right, Tristan. Netflix rules. I hope everyone enjoys. Now, getting to Mr. Squad. Can I call you Mr. Squad? The Rock, here's the deal, guys. Rock was always going to be there. We've been talking about that for weeks. The thing was, and if you heard the reports over the last 7 days, because we talked about it in last week's DTKC, and we talked about it on 2 news reports this week, Los Angeles is not sold out. You know, that building is a pretty big building, but it's not a stadium. You know, they have not sold out. You would think, oh my God, the first Raw on Netflix, they're going to pull out all the stops. Los Angeles sold out. No. And word around the campfire is that right up to the last day, if they didn't sell out, The Rock, they would leak it out, or they would announce The Rock was going to appear to get that extra surge. And tomorrow you'll have WrestlingVirgin.com report that WWE had a surge in ticket sales at the afternoon hour. And yeah, I think some people will, the decision of, you know, I want to go, I don't know if I should go, maybe I'll go, to, yeah, I'll go. Now, remember this too. This is why they had to do it today and really not Monday. It's in Los Angeles. It's 3 hours earlier. So here in New York, Raw starts at 8 o'clock at night. But in Los Angeles, it starts at 5 o'clock. So if The Rock or WWE announced at 11 a.m. tomorrow that The Rock's going to appear on Raw, there's going to be a lot of people who'll be like, fuck, now it's too late. Now I can't. So the day before, now some people could change their schedule accordingly. So, you know, Raw starts 3 hours earlier in Los Angeles. So keep in mind for that. And one other tidbit, and I don't want to rehash everything. If you want the info, last Monday's DTKC, it's right at the beginning, and this morning's show, everything you'll need to know about Netflix. One other thing I think is very important for people to remember is that when WWE goes to other countries, because Saudi Arabia will have a Raw, that is going to air live, just like a premium live event. So if you're used to watching Monday Night Raw at 8 p.m. and Raw happens to be in Saudi Arabia that week, you're going to be watching Monday Night Raw as it happens live. So if that's 10 a.m. in the morning, that's when it'll be on. Because once it finishes, it's available on Netflix. So there is no reason for them to make you wait until 8 o'clock Eastern on that same Monday night to watch Raw. So you're going to have episodes of Raw that it's going to be available on Netflix hours earlier. And the idea of, I'm going to wait till 8 p.m. to watch Raw. Well, if that's what you want to do, go right ahead. But that's going to be interesting on how we handle shows going forward. So, you know, listen, it was a lot of information to research, but I noticed 2-3 weeks ago that almost nobody was doing any legwork on their own. So I wanted to do it for all of you. Kev wanted to do it for all of you as well. And I think by far we have been the most complete as far as giving you info about WWE programming, not just for Raw, Netflix, but everything else in 2025. So now The Rock, what do I think he's going to do on Monday night? Oh, one other thing. See this envelope? This show today is only going until 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And it is a hard 9:30 because later on tonight, I am going to be a guest on someone's podcast. They're going to be doing some year-end awards. And he asked me to be on, so I have to record this at 9:40. So that's why this show is ending at 9:30 tonight. I don't want to say whose show it is yet and when, but I will tell you that my appearance will be airing tomorrow night. So, all right. Look, what is The Rock going to be doing on Raw? A lot of websites today, I know that Dr. Featherstone, this guy that he got a little Ray Phoenix exclusive and now suddenly he thinks he's got crazy sources. I'm saying this jokingly. The guy is actually pretty good with his stuff. But I know he led the way saying that The Rock was only showing up to cut a promo. The Rock has come to Netflix. If you smell... No, it's going to be more than that. It's got to be more than that. It's the fucking road to the Royal Rumble. It's the road to WrestleMania. Rock shows up. What is he going to do? Have a confrontation with Dominic Mysterio or Rock Bottom and that's it? No. I think The Rock has to get involved. Does he get involved in a segment with Cody Rhodes? Because Cody Rhodes is going to be there. You know, what's Cody Rhodes going to be doing? You know, people think, you know, hey, Cody's going to have a confrontation with someone. Remember Logan Paul? Logan Paul. Anybody find something fascinating the last 3 weeks about Logan Paul? I don't like Logan Paul. It's pretty obvious. Have you noticed that I haven't heard the name Logan Paul by Wade Barrett or Joe Tessitore the last couple of weeks? I mean, if this is the newest acquisition for Monday Night Raw, they sure as hell didn't fucking push it at all for 3 weeks. Now, yes, they announced that he will be at the first Raw on Netflix, but it was as if, you know, nothing. It was almost as like it was a banned word. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, but I noticed it 2 weeks ago. I said, wow, they're really not like making a fuss about Logan Paul being moved to Raw. And last week, nothing. And by the way, as we told you a few weeks ago, Joe Tessitore is going to SmackDown. This week, he starts on SmackDown. So Joe Tessitore now he will be on Raw Monday night for the post show on YouTube. Their post show on YouTube, he will be on there with Wade Barrett, but they will make the announcement tomorrow that they will be on SmackDown. So going forward, you know, the big question is Corey Graves. You're going to go with a 3-man team on SmackDown? Maybe. No, it's 3 hours long. You know what I would do? This is old school, but I still think that they do it. Any of you out there that watch baseball games especially, or you listen to baseball games on the radio, which I know almost nobody does anymore. But what used to happen? You usually would have a 3-man announce booth, and you would have 2 announcers go 3 innings. And then in the top of the 4th inning, one of the announcers would go have a smoke break, a pee break, eat a little bit, have a couple of drinks, and he sits out the next inning or 2. And then somebody else shows up. And then an inning or 2 later, the other guy that's still on there, he takes a little bit of a break. So you still have 2 announcers on during the entire game, but they rotate. So maybe you do something where, you know, you have a commentator, you know, take a break for an hour or something like that. Listen, I know it sounds messy as it is. I just think Wade Barrett, Corey Graves, and Joe Tessitore would be a bit much. Unless Wade Barrett goes back to NXT, which I don't see happening. Wade Barrett is too good just for NXT, in my opinion. I think The Rock has to get involved in Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns. You know, I said this on a news report this morning. This is not a prediction, and it's not a spoiler, Paul Heyman. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. No, this is not a prediction, and it's not a spoiler. It's a concern. I'll add that. It's not a prediction. It's not a spoiler. It's a concern. When they did this segment on SmackDown with Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman, And Solo Sikoa told Paul Heyman, I want you to put the Ula Fala over the head of the tribal chief. And then when Paul Heyman cut his promo, and I don't know if anybody noticed this. No, it's not the triple threat logo from ECW. But if you notice, when he was cutting a promo, he put 3 fingers up like this. And if you remember, The Rock, now I can't do it. I don't have Spock fingers, but The Rock did the same gesture with the same 3 fingers. Maybe it was these 3, maybe it was this, but I'm pretty sure it was these 3 fingers. And Paul Heyman did the same gesture. And I was thinking, do you remember when Roman Reigns returned and Roman Reigns like kind of walked off and Paul Heyman was kind of distant from him? I have a concern now that, could you imagine if Paul Heyman turns heel again and aligns himself with Solo Sikoa? I do not want to see that. I mean, I didn't want to see Paul Heyman with Cesaro. I didn't want to see Paul Heyman with, Curtis Axel. I only wanted to see Paul Heyman back in the day with Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. That's it. I really do not want to see Paul Heyman aligned with Solo Sikoa. If Rock shows up, I mean, everybody's feeling Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. Now, because of the Vegas odds of John Cena being the favorite for the Royal Rumble, which we talked about this morning, now because Cena is the favorite to win the Royal Rumble, right away, people are like, oh, okay, so that means Cena versus Gunther or Cena versus Cody. Now, which one would you rather have? Now, if you don't like Cena, you probably would choose Gunther because you would want Gunther to chop the shit out of him. But Cody Rhodes and John Cena could actually end up giving Rock Hogan vibes, where the fans will get a little bit turning on Cody Rhodes if it comes down to that at Mania. I could see, the turning of the heads where Cody's looking at the crowd a little confused, like, hey, look what I've done for you. What we've done together the last year. And you're turning on me? I could see that possibility. But now if Gunther is still champion and he doesn't take on John Cena, now there's a lot of people that think that CM Punk will take on Gunther at WrestleMania because CM Punk wants to main event WrestleMania, and usually a main event involves a world championship. And people think that could happen because Seth Rollins and CM Punk is happening tomorrow. I still think CM Punk and Seth Rollins is going to end in a disqualification or a no contest. I think Drew McIntyre is going to get involved. I don't see Drew McIntyre getting involved in Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Yes, obviously Drew McIntyre wants to take out every member of the original bloodline plus CM Punk. Maybe they could do a mixture. Maybe Drew could get involved in both matches. Maybe Drew tries to get involved in the Roman Solo, and maybe something happens with Rock. I don't know. There's so many ways to go with this. But one thing is for certain, The Rock just cutting a promo, finally. No, I don't want to see that. He could cut a promo and have somebody interrupt him. That's fine. I'd like to see Rock get a little physical on Monday Night Raw. There's no reason why he can't get a little physical. He's not injured anymore as far as I know. And this is history. We'll move on because, believe it or not, we've already eaten up a third of the show. But thank you for that, Police Squad. But here's the thing, too. And everybody, the reason why I'm making such a big deal about this first episode, any of you that are older probably could relate to this a little bit more. I've been watching Raw since day one. I've been watching wrestling since 79. When Monday Night Raw debuted in January of 1993, we all tuned in. Monday Night Wrestling was a fixture when it came to garden events, a lot of Madison Square Garden events happened on a Monday night. So wrestling on a Monday night was not weird for many people. Seeing it on television, it was a little bit different. You know, you still had Tuesday Night Titans, which obviously aired on a Tuesday. You had other shows, but when this started, you know, if you would have asked anybody watching in 1993 that Monday Night Raw would still be on TV in 2025, I would have said no. I don't think anybody, you would have thought that it would have been a fad like Superstars or something else, and, you know, would come and go, and then it'd be redone in another form and another day and another time. Never in a million years would think that many years later, 32 years later, it's still on the air. But when you look at history, when you look at Raw, when you look at the WWE Network, when you look at YouTube, when you look at the website, and they celebrate the history of Raw, you always remember episode 1. I brought up this morning WCW, Nitro. What episodes do we remember the most? Episode 1, when they were in the mall, Lex Luger showing up, and the final episode, Panama City, Florida, the simulcast Monday Night Raw. The name says McMahon. It is Shane McMahon. You remember the first, remember the last. We don't have a last yet for Raw. So that's why tomorrow night is so big, because in the annals of history, is it the first ever Monday Night Raw? No, it's year 32. But as far as the change to this platform and the freedom and the magnitude of the revenue involved, it's not just a $500 million per year deal. Remember, Netflix could pull out in 5 years. A lot of people forget that. If this deal ends up sucking, Netflix could get out in 5 years. Now what? Now what? You go back to the USA? No, I don't think so. The future is streaming. So this is a turning point as far as how we watch pro wrestling on television. And other mediums will follow. And as time goes by, little by little, we'll be moving everybody to streaming platforms. And that's the future. That is the future. That's the technology. It's cheaper. You know, any of you out there have an older relative that still has a landline phone with the cord in the wall? Ask them how much they pay on their phone bill every month. You could get digital phone with your internet or your, you know, cable television package for like $20 a month. Ask someone who still has a landline, you know, that's on a regular telephone pole, how much they pay a month. My mother and father do. My mother and father still have a regular telephone, you know, literally on the wall with the plug. And I tell them all the time, why do you need it? Just port it to a digital. They both have iPhones. You know, why spend that extra money? It's because they're used to it. They're comfortable with it. They know that it's there. If there's a power outage, the phone still works, you know? But this is the future, guys. It's the future. All right. Let's move on. Let's see. I'm just looking at the chat room with some feedback. VJ with a comment. What's up, VJ? He watched WrestleMania 20 on Netflix. What a clusterfuck. Not only Brock and Goldberg, but random things like Jesse Ventura interviewing Trump and telling him that he was going to run for president. Oh, the irony. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moments in the past. You look back on it and you're like, wow, you know, it's pretty wild. The Simpsons, everybody has fun with, because The Simpsons seem to predict everything. But, you know, because they've been on TV for so long, they think of some wild ideas and they just throw it out there, you know. And for every time they actually get something close to being right, there's 50 that they don't. But, you know, yeah, I mean, I'm still shocked that Trump won a re-election. I truthfully thought that they would get him in jail. not that I want to see him in jail. You know, I just want the country to be run the right way and cut the expenses down for everyone. Let everybody live a little bit more comfortable, have a little bit more peace, not so much crime. You know, it's just, I never in a million years ever thought that he would win re-election. We'll see what happens. I mean, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I was looking around for my phone. I was going to show you all a picture, but I don't have my phone. It's in the other room. So next week I'll show you. Benjamin says it's a bug with the slow mode. Wouldn't let him post messages on his phone anymore. He had to switch to the PC. You might have to just listen. That's a YouTube technical thing. I don't know how they operate, but usually I will tell you whenever I have a problem on my phone with an app, any app, usually what I'll do is I'll uninstall the app and reinstall it, and it usually fixes the problem. I'm not aware of any bugs, and no one else has, brought that up. So it just might be, it could be a simple little security setting was changed on your phone and it prevents something like that. I would just, uninstall it, reinstall it, and I think you'll probably be okay. Sometimes little security settings will screw that up. I've seen it happen to a lot of people in the past. And as far as slow-mo with the chat room, no, I haven't heard any bugs with the chat room either. I have slow-mo. Oh, I've always had slow-mo activated. So nobody keeps hitting the enter button over and over and over again, because that was one of the things when we used to have the 123 flash chat. Anybody remember 123 flash chat? Somebody would post a question and we'll be in the middle of a conversation about something else, and that person would just repost it over and over and over and over and over again, and sometimes post it 10 times in 10 seconds. And it's like, come on, don't spam the chat. So by having slow-mo, you post once and you have to wait 5 seconds and post again, but nothing has changed. No, I don't change nothing. S21 says he's having the issue on the PC. Clear your cookies. If you're having a problem on your PC, it's probably cookies. You'll be surprised how clearing your cookies out will fix things. I mean, that was one of the problems that I had here with audio. I'd be in the middle of a show and then all of a sudden, and people would be like, can't hear you. I'm like, I didn't touch nothing. And there's a couple of cookie settings, and I had something where if a program was loaded, it would override something else, and it would just disable my sound card, and I would have to reset it. So, I don't know. I don't think I could disable slow-mo now, not while we're doing the show live. Maybe I can. Let me see. Maybe I can. I think I can. I can. All right, we'll try it. Reload your chat. Slow-mo is off. So we'll see what happens. It's the first time slow-mo is off, ever. S21, he says, DT, you nailed it. Triple H said the exact same thing about running time during an interview yesterday. Awesome, man. Listen, I would be lying to you through my teeth, and I would be the most dishonest person in podcasting if I told you that Kevin and I have a ton of sources. We don't. Back in the day, we became friends with someone who we called Mike the Informer. Mike was friends with a lot of people in the wrestling companies, friends with a lot of indie guys, and we would get leaked out a lot of stuff. Over the years, you become friends with people in wrestling. There's a lot of wrestlers, and it's not a bragging thing. There's a lot of wrestlers that tune into every podcaster out there. They don't just sit around and just, play Candy Crush all day. They don't go out drinking like they used to. They don't go play pool. Either go to the gym or they just hang out. They listen to music, and some people, listen to podcasts. And you'd be surprised. I know that some wrestlers vanity search their names on Twitter, which some people have been caught doing. But a lot of wrestlers do tune into podcasts to get a vibe of what the everyday fan feels about what they're doing. It's not just the host, but it's the people calling in, it's the people chatting, it's the people putting feedback. Wrestlers do want to know. They want to see, all right, am I onto something? Do the fans see something that I'm not? You know, there are a lot of people that do that. It goes back in the day. You know, I'm not name dropping to show off, but anybody that goes back to the Minority Report days, I still have the interview when D'Lo Brown was on. And D'Lo Brown is like, you know, I take your shows to Japan and all the American wrestlers hang out and listen to your podcasts. And this is me, Kevin Castle, Joey 924, Black Moses, and Smoked Out. You know, 5 regular guys. And, you know, we were just flabbergasted, like, wow, I mean, that's pretty fucking cool. But we asked them, like, why? And they find the shows funny, but they also like the feedback, the honesty about it. So we've built some friendships over the years, and some people work in WWE. I have a couple of friends of mine that work in the offices in AEW. They'll DM me once in a while, keep doing what you're doing. You know, sometimes if I want a question answered, I'll ask somebody, hey, you know, you hear anything about this? And Kev will do that also. You know, and sometimes it'll be like, nah, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Sometimes someone will say, I'd love to tell you, but I can't get my ass in trouble. Some people will tell and say they trust us not to say anything. So I ask questions. That's it. You know, hey, I'm going to be doing my show. I don't want to put any misinformation. Have you heard anything about this? Remember the Odyssey Jones story? You know, something didn't pass the smell test. Remember the Leaf Fitting story a couple of weeks ago? Something didn't pass the smell test for Kev and I. It's not that we're pro, you know, harassing women. It's not that, you know, we're pro Vince McMahon or anything like that. Something didn't make sense about it. And the more we researched outside of wrestling, the more it didn't make sense even more. And sure enough, we get a DM from someone and be like, got to hand it to you guys. You were right. You know, it's not bragging. It's just, you know, we want to have the answers. So, you know, and sometimes people do give us wrong information. They hear the wrong thing. You know, let me make this clear. Me, any other podcaster out there, any other news outlet out there, there is nobody that has direct contacts with Triple H and Nick Khan and Bruce Pritchard, at the time Kevin Dunn, Lee Fitting. They don't have any direct contacts with any of those guys. What people do have contacts with are wrestlers, people that work in the offices, agents, people that work behind the scenes in various, oh, I saw this list. Oh, I saw the match list. Oh, I saw this. Oh, you got to check this out. That's who they talk to. So when people say, oh, you know, my sources tell me this, and that, and it's something involving WWE management, that is someone just basically guessing that they know what is going to happen. There's nobody that has that kind of contact out there, period. So you have to trust the people that you talk to. That's why people were surprised that I said this morning. I subscribe to Fightful. There are some people there that, you know, my co-host does not, you know, get along with, and there's some people there that I don't particularly like at all. But they are pretty damn good, you know, with their sources. And, you know, if they can't get an answer for something, they will say, we reached out to so-and-so for comment and received no reply. That's the best thing. How many times, you know, even like Thunder Rosa recently, that just came to my mind. When Dave Meltzer reported that Thunder Rosa is, I think he said that she was ready for a return or not ready for a return. And she's like, what are you talking about? That's not true. Why didn't you just reach out to me? And that's the thing that pisses me off more than anything else. When you see a news outlet out there report something and they don't try to reach out to the person, even if it's Vince McMahon. If I emailed Vince McMahon, found an old email address and said, hey, Vince, is this true that you grabbed this woman's ass in Tanzabar in Florida? And I received no reply. I emailed him. So if I said we reached out to Vince McMahon for comment and received no reply, that's the truth. Why do people put bullshit out there and then it ends up being wrong? And then you find out they don't even contact the person. I remember somebody reported somebody died early this year. And the family's like, why didn't you just reach out to us for an answer? I mean, the person ultimately died, but the point is, always take note of that. That's one thing that Fightful does do. But you know who's going to have a really good year, journalism-wise? You know who's really going to have a good year? Wrestling. People will be shocked to hear this come out of my mouth, but it's true. PW Insider. Pay very close attention at PW Insider's reporting the last couple of weeks, and you'll see clearly the difference. See, WrestleVotes, I have nothing against them personally. They're 50-50 with their accuracy, but they like to play games with their wording. Something is being discussed. What does that mean? Something's being discussed. They're being discussed that they're going to let go LA Knight. You know what I'm saying? Like, you either something's happening or it's not. It's being discussed. So what do? Oh, there's a buzz that a title change could happen on SmackDown. There's a buzz. They don't tell you who the title change is. Remember, a title change was going to happen at Saturday night's main event. And don't give me, well, Chelsea Green kind of counts that. No, the same people, title change. There's a buzz in the air. A title change is going to happen at Saturday night's main event. Abba Fungu, you were wrong. But they don't tell you who. PW Insider went out and said, oh, WWE Royal Rumble 2026, Saudi Arabia. Now, if that was WrestleVotes, our sources tell us that WWE is considering a premium live event take place outside the United States and Saudi Arabia in 2023. They don't tell you which premium live event. Or they'll tell you that one of the bigger premium live events will happen outside the United States. More details to come. By our Patreon. PW Insider is actually given specifics. And I've taken notice of that the last couple of weeks, and they have some legit contacts. You think back as some people used to be in the Ring of Honor days that work for the WWE now, they're little birdies like to squeak a little bit. But one thing that Mike Johnson, even though I used to despise that guy, and Dave Scherer, who I have no issue with for several years now, one thing that they do right is they double check things and they don't leak anything out that would hurt business or be bad for business. Like, when was the last time that you heard them leak out something like really fucked up or something really, really out there or something that would be detrimental? No, none. Dave Meltzer, unfortunately, is being fed bullshit from some people. They're fucking with him now. Absolutely. When he says that people are intentionally feeding him bad information, yeah. People realize, oh, we got him. We got him. He's now reading message boards. Oh, yeah, AEW commercials are worth this. He's reading message boards. He's reading things that random people have posted. So now somebody in wrestling like, I'm gonna send this. Watch what happens. And he falls for it. I feel bad. That's fucked up. But even Wade Keller couldn't wait to report that Raw had the lowest rating in its history. Instead of verifying the fucking number, instead of Wade Keller saying, gee, I'm the only person with this rating. No one else has this. Maybe it's wrong. Why would I be the only person? I'm not sexy. I didn't blackmail anybody. Why would I be the only person that would have the lowest rating in the history of Monday Night Raw? I got this. Instead of just checking it, no, he runs with it. Oh, somebody who I trusted for years was wrong. The fuck does that mean? You get a TV rating, that means you get it from somebody in the broadcasting and cable industry. Why don't you just say? That's why I stopped putting any legitimate coverage in who's the one that WrestleNomics. WrestleNomics does a lot of hard work with their data and their research. But you ever notice when they put their quarter-hour ratings out there and a breakdown, they tell each and every one of you out there, please don't repost our stuff. Please, if you're going to talk about it, please give us credit. How come they don't tell you, how come they don't give credit for the people they get it from? Now, if you get it from them, they want the world to know you got it from them. How come they don't give credit for the people they get it from? Does anybody at WrestleNomics work for Nielsen? No. Does anybody in WrestleNomics work in the broadcasting field in the cable industry that has privy for that numbers? No. Where are they getting it from? So we did a little research. We don't need to rehash that. And I don't know if what I got is 100% true. So I told everyone, like, listen, guys, believe it if you want. This is what I found out. This is what doesn't make sense. So we're just not going to cover it anymore. I'm not going to run with it and then it'd be wrong. All right. How we got on that, I have no idea. What time is it? We still got 30 minutes. This is turning into like a Raw Netflix preview show, which is fine for 1 week. Why not? I will tell you this. I don't watch Japanese wrestling. Just not interested in it. I don't follow the wrestlers enough. And trust me, there's a lot of Japanese wrestling fans that don't watch American wrestling. Yeah, that is actually true. But I did watch quite a bit of Wrestle Dynasty. And Kenny Omega looked fabulous. Tremendous in his match with Gabe Kidd. Ricochet, I said this morning that I think Zack Sabre Jr. was probably the MVP of that weekend because he was in a 45-minute match the night before for Wrestle Kingdom, and then he was in a pretty long match with Ricochet. But that event was pretty good from what I've seen. But it is kind of funny that AEW will now have 4 new championships on their television because Mercedes Moné takes home another one. The Young Bucks each have an IWGP title. Takeshita's got another championship. And I might even be forgetting somebody. So now they're going to be parading 4 more belts in AEW. Listen. Over the last 5 years of following AEW on TV and behind the scenes, I think Kenny Omega comes off as the least biased of that inner circle. I think as time has gone by, I think Kenny Omega, he stays away from the drama quite a bit. I also feel, I get this vibe from Kenny Omega that he likes living this simple life. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, I'm talking about, like, as long as his bills are paid, if he has a family, and as long as his family's taken care of, he games, he mingles online, he wrestles, like, he's content. You know what I mean? He's happy with what he has. Like, he doesn't need excess. That's the vibe I always get from Kenny Omega. And I think Kenny Omega, out of everybody, he would probably be the one that I think would be most likely to go to WWE when everything is said and done. Because I don't think he is one to really stir shit up and stab people in the back. Now, back in the day, it could have been different. I don't know him personally. But the vibe that I get from, seeing the way people talk about him, even people just in casual conversation, I think Kenny Omega really comes off as, put it this way, they never replaced Cody Rhodes. They never replaced Cody Rhodes in that company. If anybody had to fill those shoes, I think Kenny Omega would probably be the closest one to it. But I also think Kenny Omega doesn't want to wear a suit and tie. and go meet and have these public meetings and this and that. Having rallies, yeah, okay, fine. But I don't think he is that corporate guy either. But I think as far as classy personality, just really right motives, I actually think he is up there. VJ with a 2-spot. Cope's finisher should be the coping mechanism. Are we all copacetic with the name change? I posted something on Twitter the other day. I posted this picture of my dog. This was my dog's reaction to Cope. That was Bruno's reaction to Cope. I don't understand. I don't get how somebody in a creative meeting, let me put it like this. You would have thought that when he jumped off the cage and broke his leg, what the fuck was I thinking? This is the equivalent of breaking your leg creatively. Edge, you just jumped off the cage again and landed wrong. Cope? Somebody asked me the other day, DT, please make sense of this. And I had learned that Sweet Daddy Siki had died the day before. And Sweet Daddy Siki trained Edge and Christian. And I thought, Cope. My last name is de Blasi. And when I was in school, my nickname was Blas. Blasomania is running wild. And I thought, okay, Blas is short for de Blasi, even though I don't have a Z in my name. So maybe back in the day, his friends called him Cope. This is before Edge, when Adam Copeland was just Adam Copeland. Hey, Cope, come here. Maybe Sweet Daddy Siki called him Cope. And maybe in tribute to Siki, he tweaked the name to Cope. I don't think it sticks. I think the name changes back to Adam Copeland. And first of all, ain't nobody rated R that's Cope. Sounds ridiculous. I don't think that name will stick. I think slowly the announcers will mention Adam Copeland, full name. I don't know why they changed it. If you want to use it as a nickname, like Meechin, Miyam. Adam Copeland, he's cutting a promo. Hey, Cope. It's fine. But I can't wear a fucking shirt that says Cope on it. Cope what? Are you going to do spoof for Coca-Cola? Hey, Pro Wrestling Tees, put our fucking show in the podcast directory. And while you're at it, maybe you could do a spoof. Put it on a Coke bottle. Go like this. Hey, Cope is it. Remember the old Coca-Cola labels? Coke is it. Cope is it. Have a Cope and a smile. Spoof Coca-Cola. It's stupid. Cope. I can't wait for Justin Roberts, the new AEW World Champion. Cope. I don't know, man. I don't like it. I don't think it's going to stick. I really don't. By the way, I mentioned the shirts. Hey, you could let Kevin and I brag for a week. We just found out. That's the front of the shirt. That's the back of the shirt. We found out that, and you could look it up if we're lying. The Don Tony and Kevin Castle show 20th anniversary shirt is the #1 selling wrestling podcast shirt of 2024 on Pro Wrestling Tees. The #1 biggest selling shirt. And we launched it in September. Just to give you an idea, either how many shirts we sold or how little other people sell with their shirts. We were the biggest selling shirt of 2024. That is legit. So everybody that picked up a shirt, believe me, when Kev saw it, he couldn't believe it. And I said, no, it's true, man. Look it up. I sent him the link and he's like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. And if you don't like it, cope with it. I just thought about it. He's rated R, right? He's rated R. The rated R superstar. He should put out his shirt. Everybody should cope a feel. Hey, I just cope the feel. Anybody remember that? I just cope the feel. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Trust me, I thought of every variation. Instead of cope heads, copacetic, coop. Instead of COPE, I put COPD. You know, people have COPD. Instead of COPE, COPD. I thought of everything. Remember the movie The Fan with Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro? I thought of the guy, Coop. Hey, Coop. Coop. I thought we were friends. I thought we were pals. That was in high school. He hit him over the head with the baseball bat. Coop. Cope. Adam Copeland, you fucked up when you dove off the cage. And you fucked up again. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. All right. We got to start bringing this home soon because at 9:30, I have to turn this off. And then I got to get my notes. And I'm going to be part of an award show tomorrow night. I could tell you who it is. It's JD from New York. JD asked me to be on. I was very, very honored. Very honored that he's going to have me, the award he's got me presenting. It's a good one. It's a good one. Trust me. I want everybody to make sure you check out JD's year-end awards tomorrow when he talks about it. If you don't join Kevin and I live, check out our replay. We're going to recap Raw, obviously. We're going to do predictions for NXT New Year's Evil. We're also going to pay tribute to everybody who died in 2024. I'm sure a lot of you heard my news report earlier this week. Some of you probably saw my tweet. Basically a big fuck you to Sports Illustrated. Shame on all those wrestling news sites out there. Shame on Sports Illustrated and every other lazy piece of shit out there that had the nerve to either write articles or go on YouTube remembering everybody we lost in wrestling in 2024. And their lists are anywhere from 18 people to 31. Kevin and I have a list of 82. And we left some names out because they really were, shouldn't have been on the list. We came up with 82. Sports Illustrated had a list remembering every person who died in 2024, and they had 19 people on the list. Yeah, it struck a nerve because my good friend Billy Reel was one of them, but still, I mean, there was some big names that weren't even on that list. I'm like, you're that fucking lazy. If you're that lazy, don't even do an article. So tomorrow night, at some point, towards the end of the show, because I'm sure everybody wants to hear us talk about what happened on Raw. Towards the end of the show, we will take a few minutes and we will pay tribute to every person. As far as I'm aware of, every person in wrestling who died in 2024. Based Beardus. Thank you for the 2-spot. My hype for John Cena's tour. Theory beat him at WrestleMania. Well, Solo Sikoa kicked his ass too. I am looking forward to it. At some points early on, I couldn't stand John Cena. I have said it a million times over the years. The 2008 Royal Rumble, when he came back as surprise entrant number 30, I had a Royal Rumble party in my house that night, and everybody popped for Cena's return. I love Cena in Thugonomics. I dealt with his stuff early on. I started enjoying Cena again when he was the United States champion. When he took on Sami Zayn and he took on Kevin Owens, remember when Kevin Owens stomped on the U.S. title? He had the NXT title. That's when I really started to appreciate John Cena. From Thugonomics to that moment, I was not that much of a fan. I think John Cena has done enough We've seen enough. We think he's done enough. I think he's done enough that he deserves this retirement tour. I will tell you this, what I don't want to see happen, nothing against Steve Borden, but WWE abso-fucking-lutely better not treat John Cena's year like AEW treated Sting. You know what Sting's AEW career was, everyone? Everybody remember Game Genie? All right. If you don't remember Game Genie, basically when you used to have like Sega and Super Nintendo and all these other video games, like you could put something in the cartridge and you could play a game and never die. You could play Pac-Man and have 100 lives. You just play until you go to sleep. Now on the computer, you could probably hack a game and you could rig it like baseball. You could rig it that there's no strike three. You just keep it. That's what Sting's AEW career was. His career was, he had a hack where he couldn't lose. He could do whatever he wanted. He could do like, I want to dive off a wall. I want to see what it's like to dive off a ceiling. I want to go through a table. I don't want to do back bumps, but I want to do this. And I don't want to lose. It's very easy once his career is over. Oh, there were reports that Sting wanted to lose to this person and Sting wanted to lose it. Yeah, right. When did Sting turn into the Pope? When did Sting turn into this saint where he can't be selfish? I don't blame the guy. Listen, Tony, I'm retired. I got hurt from Seth Rollins. I'm content. No, Sting, please. I'll give you anything you want. You'll have an undefeated streak. You'll retire as champion. I'll give you millions and millions of dollars. We'll sell crazy amounts of merchandise. If you want to take a shit in the middle of the ring, you can. Anything you want. Sting, please. You'll go out superhuman. And that's what they did. You look at his run and, listen, I'm a huge Sting fan. I do not want John Cena's final year to be that. Trust me, I think the fans will start getting bored of that by April. After Mania, I think people are like, oh, no. We see where this is going. No. And I don't think they'll do that. I think John Cena probably will lose to a few people. And you know what people say? John Cena is fucking giving a rub to some people. He gave the rub to Austin Theory. Say what you want about Austin Theory, and you could claim that Vince McMahon was infatuated with him. Yeah, him and Grayson Waller haven't done much in the last 12 months, but they're so young and there's so much other shit going on. Why have him get lost in the shuffle now? They had Austin Theory get involved with the biggest names in wrestling history, from Austin to Cena to Rock and others. You don't do that unless that person has something special. So Austin Theory beating Cena, I look at that more of John Cena trying to help somebody who has a hell of a bright future. Now, hopefully Austin Theory doesn't fuck up that opportunity. I think John Cena will lose a few matches along the way. I do. I really do. Scorpio, what's up? Scorpio 1117. My most hated number. When is Jay Cargill coming back? Also, what are my opinions about Excalibur as a play-by-play announcer? All right. Jay Cargill will be back very, very soon. Many people believe Naomi will be revealed as the one who took her out and took advantage with the tag team championship. I think Jay Cargill returns right at the time Naomi loses the belts. When she loses the belts, I expect her back before the Royal Rumble. Jay Cargill does not have to return and be in a match immediately. CM Punk was involved in a lot of storylines and a lot of segments before he actually had an in-ring return match. Jade Cargill will be back within the next couple of weeks. Could happen as early as next week. I think in the next couple of weeks leading up to Royal Rumble, Jade Cargill will be back. As far as Excalibur, here's my honest take about Excalibur. The man works his ass off to try to be that guy. Unfortunately, his cadence is off. A lot of times he sounds like he's talking down to people. I don't think it's just the AEW format, but sometimes he talks assuming that everybody follows CMLL, everybody follows New Japan Pro Wrestling. You know who he reminded me of? When Matt Stryker was doing commentary early on in his career. Matt Stryker was throwing references out there to try to make it seem like he was the most intelligent play-by-play guy, and it was not very good. Excalibur tries, but I am not entertained by his commentary. I just don't like it. I don't like it. He works hard. If he was like the third guy in a play-by-play, if he was a backstage, if he was doing what what's his face is doing, who's that Spanish play-by-play guy in the back? God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. In AEW, who's the Latin guy, the older guy, Brian? What's the, somebody in the chat room will bail me out. There's like a 7. Alex Marvez. Thank you, Chris. Alex Marvez. Like if he was doing what Alex Marvez was doing, okay. But the thing is like he wears a mask. There's no aura about Excalibur. Like I don't think anybody's out there like, anybody have a picture of him, without a mask? Like he comes in as if he has this big aura in wrestling that everybody's supposed to be like, oh, mysterious, knowledgeable. I'm not a big fan of his work. He works hard. I mean, there's no question he works hard. I just don't like his cadence. I don't like his style. I don't like how AEW, somebody comes in, plus sometimes you got to ad lib and sometimes you got to stop yourself. I mean, I'll never forget when Malachi Black showed up before we even knew what his name was, and he shows up, I think, with Cody Rhodes. He's like, I know who that is. That's Malachi Black. And everybody was like, where'd you get Malachi from? Like, it wasn't like, so I know it's not his real name. I don't remember him in the Indies using that name. Like he does things like that. Oh, I know who that is. That's El Stupido from Monterrey. Like, yeah, 99.9% of us don't know who that is. Every time he's like, I know who that is, that I want to punch him. I want to punch him. Take that out of your vocabulary, Excalibur. I know who that is. Yeah. Is that Tommy End? Nobody on camera has ever called them Tommy End. Like, there's too many things. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of his, but I appreciate his work ethic. I really do. All right. We got 5 minutes left. And I kind of feel bad. We got almost 500 people still live right now. Based says he absolutely loves the Daphne license plate. Well, guess what, Based? It's your lucky night. You contributed to the DTKC Expense Fund. Hey, anybody want a people power? When he gets thrown in jail with Vince McMahon, that's when I'll put his autograph and Vince's on eBay. Well, what about this? This is pretty cool. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes dual signed WrestleMania photos. Yeah, these were printed like a month before The Rock showed up. I wonder why they signed them if the Rock changed everything up. If you DM me your shipping address, yeah, we have a bunch. We have a bunch of Daphne plates. I had about 100 of them. And when she first passed away, anybody who contributed to the funeral, I sent a license plate to. I still have a few left over. So if you DM me on Twitter at Don Tony D, if you want one, I'll send you a plate. They're real plates. I mean, I am sorry to do this one to yours, but I made a loud noise. These are real license plates. Just don't put it on a car and drive around. Rest in peace, Daphne. Man, she was such a cool chick, man. I was friends with her for over 20 years, and I'm not saying that bragging. She was a really, really sweet girl, man. It was just really, really hard to see her really go downhill. It started with her injury in TNA. Let's be honest. She had a car accident where her car flipped over in a creek, and she got injured there. She started taking medicinal substances to her the pain. She had a lot of concussions, a lot of headaches, migraines, and to the point where it drives you mad. And then she started putting on weight. And one thing about Daphne, she was always very, 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 very critical of her looks. I remember in 2002, she had to get surgery on her abdomen. And they went in above her belly button. And she had a little scar on her belly button. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, this looks awful. She's like, you think anybody will notice? I'm like, no, it don't look, it looks like you had an Audi, and she's like, no, this is gross. This is disgusting. She had some, appendix, maybe. I don't remember what the surgery was, but she had it in 2002. And she was always, always very, very critical of her looks. And she started putting on weight. Me, I've always been a heavy person. Some points even much heavier, but even dealing with depression, and unfortunately food became her best friend. And then, there's a lot of other things too, which we won't talk about here, but she's out of her pain. I don't ever condone the S word, but I wish she didn't, but I could only imagine having that kind of excruciating pain and it doesn't go away. It just gets worse. It's like a bad movie that refuses to end. It's like, no, I'm not going to make a joke. No. We'll just say rest in peace, Daphne. Russ says he's dealing with a hernia in my stomach. Listen, I had the diverticulitis surgery like 5 years ago. I still get these weird pains in my stomach. Kenny Omega had diverticulitis. Conan had a form of it as well. And it almost killed Conan. Almost killed him. So, I know what some of that pain feels like. For me, it's different. If I bend the wrong way, it feels like somebody took parts of my inside and went like this, like started twisting it. It's not fun. 316 MMA. Who think that who win the Liv and Rhea match? He thinks that Liv will win because everyone thinks Rhea will win the match. He thinks Liv and Rhea and Becky will be a three-way at WrestleMania. I still think Liv Morgan is going to go to SmackDown. I think there's going to be a trade alert. I think Adam Pearce is going to be like tired of the Judgment Day, and I traded your ass to SmackDown. I think Liv Morgan loses the championship. Liv Morgan will be Women's Wrestler of the Year for 2024. But we are now in 2025, and it's time for a change. I think you bring Liv Morgan to SmackDown. Maybe you have Liv Morgan end up feuding with Tiffany Stratton after Nia Jax is done with a couple of failed rematches. I see Rhea Ripley losing. The only question is, does Charlotte Flair show up on Monday night? Nobody's talking about Charlotte Flair. And I know why, because Andrade's on SmackDown. And people think, oh, if Andrade's on SmackDown, Charlotte must be on SmackDown. No, not necessarily. I think Charlotte Flair is better suited for Raw. Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Charlotte Flair versus Raquel Rodriguez. Charlotte Flair versus Shayna Baszler. Charlotte Flair. There's a few. I think Charlotte Flair may be better for Raw. Don't be surprised. I'm not saying Charlotte will show up on Raw tomorrow night, but it wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise me. Jeff is asking, do I have a favorite wrestling album? I'll give you, listen, I always like the wrestling, the WWF's first one, the wrestling album. You know what CD I was looking at a couple of days ago because I was going through an old hard drive because I actually, hey, I'll give everybody a little treat. If you loved the Raw intro from the 90s when there was the fire on the roof, I'll share something with you, a little sneak peek for tomorrow night. Give me a minute. I was in my old hard drive looking for something, and I came across forcible entry. Oh, was it? Yeah, it was forcible entry. And I always laughed at that name that WWE put on a CD because I remember when Kevin and I covered when that came out, that WWE CD, forcible entry. It feels like something that Vince McMahon came up with. It sounds like, not going to say the word, but forcible entry, like you're forcing an entry. That name was, but there were some good songs. There were some good songs, man. All right. I'm out of time. I'm out of touch. I'm out of time. And yes, I definitely want to mention, Base says that Daphne had the it factor. Listen, she was great at what she did. She wasn't a very good wrestler. She tried and she got into the hardcore stuff. And I know where it started. She loved taking some bumps when she was valeting Vic Grimes, which when her name was Lucy Fur in XPW. But yeah, she had the it factor. She was a sweetheart. I mean, she was a really, really cool person. Good motives, good family person, loved animals, loved cats, just very, very, very nice person. When you say bad things shouldn't happen to really good people, she would be near the top of my list. So I'll leave you with this. It's not put together yet, but because tomorrow night Raw's going to Netflix and it's going to be a little bit bigger, I was looking at a lot of old school stuff, and over the years people make custom intros for Monday Night Raw. WWE did one as well, and I wanted to use an old Raw intro for tomorrow's show. And I always loved the intro when, they're fighting. Even when Bret Hart left WWE to go to WCW, they still kept using the intro where they were fighting in the ring in the fire. And if you look closely, Bret Hart is fighting in the ring. Meanwhile, he's already in WCW. But after the intro and all the fireworks would go off in the arena, and then they would flash all the signs. I mean, that was, to me, most epic about it. And I wish WWE would bring that shit back. Bring back the fucking fireworks, zooming and back and forth. You would think in today's day and age, it would be so much safer to do it. But even back then with the fireworks, it was amazing. And I always wanted to use that intro for one of our episodes. And Kevin and I did for the 10-year Raw anniversary show in 2003. But at the time, we couldn't find any intro with the explosions without Jim Ross or somebody saying, welcome everybody to Monday Night Raw. You would always hear somebody in the background screaming and talking. Well, I found something years and years and years ago and never used it. And I put it together last night. Now, I still have to tweak it a little bit more, but if you want a little taste of what we're doing tomorrow, the only thing that I want to try to do is I want to take the fireworks and put it in stereo. So if you're listening on headphones, I want it to sound like the fucking firework is going this way. But this is what we're doing tomorrow night. I'm going to tweak it a little bit more, but, and I will talk a little bit in it so nobody steals it. So this is what we're doing.
The Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show contains explicit language and is intended for mature audiences only. But just because you're mature doesn't mean you can't be a little naughty.
Everybody and their mother has that. The fireworks, is the most important part. My favorite intro of all time. You have no idea how hard it was to like find this and put it together. And you go, welcome everyone to Monday Night Raw. And it goes, it keeps going. But yeah, we're going to play around with that and try to get it really, really good tomorrow. So, but that by far is my favorite intro of all time for Monday Night Raw. That was fun times, man. Just everything about it. You know my favorite. All right, let me take that off. You know what my favorite SmackDown theme of all time is? I don't know what yours are. You're welcome to post it in the comment section after we're done, because we're going to finish right now. Because I did tell this person 9:40. The Beautiful People. I think they used it in 2000. Did they use it in 2000? Or maybe it was 1999 when they used Marilyn Manson's The Beautiful People for a little while. If you watch the intro video with the song, it's really, really cool. When they did Let the Bodies Hit the Floor and then 9/11 hit, they had to change it. That's a little tidbit for those that don't know the story. Maybe you're a little bit younger. In 2001, they used the song, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. Then 9/11 hit. And immediately, even though the internet was much different at that time, immediately people like, oh, wow, that's kind of like not the right music for that. And they stopped that theme immediately. So, but Jay Long says that Marilyn Manson was from 2001 to 2003. Okay. All right. That sounds correct. I believe that. No, wait. There's no way they could have done that for 2 years. Beautiful People was not that long. I mean, if it was 2 years, holy shit. I don't recall it being that long, but that's kind of the period though. But you watch it with the video, it's 10 times better. So I always remember Chris Benoit in that video because he flies with the headbutt. And then, it is what it is. So, all right, everybody. Base says Raw used to look like Woodstock. They definitely could go back to some of that. Here's the problem, and we'll leave with this. All right, here's the problem. We are in a hip-hop world. 20 years ago, well, let's go a little step back. 30 years ago. 30 years ago, it was a lot of dance, but there was a lot of hip-hop, and you still had some grunge, because if you think of ECW in the mid-90s, they used Nirvana, but they would also use Here Comes the Hot Stepper, Word 'em Up. So they would use House of Pain. There would be a lot of variation. When you got into the 2000s, hip-hop was still there. I mean, it never left, but it was more of that like more on the rock side of things. Like that music seemed to be more in. I mean, you look back, a lot of their guests, Kid Rock and everyone else. Now in 2025, we're in an age where almost everything is hip hop. I mean, of course, there's other genres of music that are very, very popular. But as far as mainstream, especially at WWE's in the United States, that's their home base, it's hip hop. Social media, it's hip hop. So that is why NXT, SmackDown, Raw, a lot of premium live events. If it's not Pitbull and his shitty music, it's hip hop. So that's why, as much as I am with many of you out there that would love to see the old themes come back once in a while, it's too outdated. It's nostalgia for us, but for the younger wrestling fans out there, it's time gone by. That's why I'm a little confused with AEW going with Elton John and the Pointer Sisters. I mean, if anybody goes back to the Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline that me, Matt Zombie, Brian Damage, and Timmy Austin, the ECW Zombie, God rest his soul, when we used to do our shows, every show that we did, we opened up taking the line from Elton John. Friday nights, all right for fighting, here on the Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline. Monday nights, all right for fighting, here on the Blackheart Sports. That was taken from Elton John. But in 2024, I think it's a little outdated. Now, I'm so excited, and I just can't fight it. I know, I want to. Like, I don't know who they're trying to target with something like that, but it's just strange. All right, I'm going to cut out of here. I got to get this done. It's getting late, very, very early here. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me this Sunday night. Next week, we'll go a little bit longer. Don't forget, February 2, Kevin and I will be back here on YouTube for a special episode. We're going to celebrate 1 year of our return, and it will be the day after the Royal Rumble. So we will definitely talk about the Royal Rumble. We will be doing a recap of the Rumble on February 2nd. So definitely save that date, because that show is going to be a big one. And looking forward to it. But tomorrow night, whatever time Raw ends, 15 minutes later, Kev Castle and I will be live on our Discord channel, dtkcdiscord.com. Welcome to join us. It doesn't cost anything to be there, and we have a great time every week. So dtkcdiscord.com. And my guess is Raw will probably end around 2.5 hours, give or take a few minutes. But I am very, very happy to hear what that gentleman said earlier about Triple H, because it means what Kevin and I were told last week was right. And we were the only people reporting that. We were the only people sharing that information. And we said, you'll look back 1 week later and you'll be like, yep, they nailed it. So it's fun to nail things. It's fun to nail things. Just for some reason, for me, the one thing I want to nail the worst, she's busy with the dogs.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.